You ought to be in pictures. You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures all.
One thing I did want to discuss is this
Yeah.
Best Picture
Yeah.
topic, because I think we've stumbled across a much better way of doing it.
I think so too, and I've been looking forward to it too.
Yeah,
because there's a number of those in that list I have not seen.
Sure, particularly in those early years, I went through and just made sure that they were kind of available. And of the first 10 years of Best Picture, I think I have one or two of them on like DVD or something, but I was able to find the other 8 online pretty easily. I think one's on YouTube.
No, I still remember, you know how I've seen a lot of these was my old video store used to have basically that. On one section of the store, they had every Best Picture VHS.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, and I remember watching it. I remember that's how I first saw Rebecca.
Oh, great. Okay.
And Marty, I think, which by the way, Marty was going to be my honorable mention.
I did wonder whether that was the one. Actually, yeah. I did think, because it's such a kind of, it's such an odd win.
It is. It's an odd win, but it's such an endearing film.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful story, and I have always had a soft spot in my heart for Marty.
I only saw it for the first time quite recently, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it had been flagged. I remember in Quiz Show, you know, that the Robert Redford movie, Quiz Show.
Right. Yeah.
It's John Turturro is the character that has to lose, and he has to lose by getting Marty wrong. And he was like, Marty, you don't make me lose on Marty. You know, that's my people kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what is that movie? And so I looked it up and I was like, oh, Ernest Borgnine is the lead in a movie. Interesting. And then, I only got around to watching it like a year or two ago.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
But it's great.
Tammy was quick to ask, are we going to go around or are we going to go sequentially? And
well, this was one of the questions, because, but I think personally, and I did hum and ha about this a little bit, I think sequentially is the way to go.
I that's the way I'm feeling too. I feel like it's almost like a challenge, you know, when you whether it's a pilgrimage or my walking across, like I'm going to start at one end and I'm going to reach the other end, and it's going to be a sense of accomplishment when you reach that point, you know. Right.
And I think it opens up the possibility of examining trends and styles and that kind of thing, you know, to see the kind of film that would win during the 30s and then during the 40s. I mean, I just quickly looked, and I think it's during the 60s, 4 musicals won Best Picture in the 60s alone.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Which is nuts.
And then you get to the 80s and you're thinking, Kramer versus Kramer? Really?
Yeah. And Driving Miss Daisy, you're like, really?
Yeah.
Which I must admit, I've never seen Driving Miss Daisy. So that's I think that's the most recent one that I've never seen.
I haven't seen. I remember when I saw it. I saw it in Hong Kong with friends on probably VHS in the 90s. I definitely need a rewatch.
Right.
No, I mean, because that's good.
I think that's part of it. And I think the idea of going, because if we don't go sequentially, I was like, okay, well, so either we just jump around randomly, and that's great in as much as we basically pick all our favorite ones first and do it, but then you're left with a whole chunk of the crap that we don't really want to do. Yeah. And for people coming in, for viewers coming in, it's like, it's a bit weird. It's like, what are we doing? And it'd be a bit odd. Or if we go in reverse chronological order, then
you lose momentum as you get towards Wings.
Yeah.
You know? I think we're, no, I totally agree. Let's start with Wings. Let's move Cimarron and move up.
Grand Hotel and all of those.
Yeah. You know what I found is interesting when I was going through the list, when I was trying to cultivate a top 5, how much films from 2000 to 2021 do not make my cut.
No, none of mine.
Yeah, I don't think
so. What was in your list, as we're not doing it?
Yeah, definitely. I think you picked a couple. Casablanca and The Godfather were givens. The reason I wouldn't go with Return of the King was it was an okay movie, but it wasn't the best of the 3. For me, Fellowship of the Ring was the perfect movie. And because that wasn't nominated, I know everybody says they gave Return of the King as kind of a culmination of the entire work, but I was going to be technical about it. Fellowship of the Ring is not there, and that's the one that I think is
it is the best one.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
I agree.
So Casablanca, Godfather. After that, it becomes hard because over the years I've had spits and spurts. Whereas I remember 30 years ago, Gone with the Wind would have been in my top 5, hands down. I loved Gone with the Wind. I read the book. I read the book in the 7th grade. I was a Gone with the Wind-aholic. I still enjoy that film, but these days I don't know if I would put it in my top 5. But I remember how passionate I was about it at one point. And then so I started, kind of, do I do Gone with the Wind, or is that too much a given? And then there was movies like Rebecca, which I really love Rebecca.
I love Rebecca, yeah.
Or Mrs. Miniver, which I love Mrs. Miniver. But I thought, but in top 5, I don't know, So what about you?
Well, so I had Casablanca. So without even sort of thinking about your list or anything, I immediately wrote down Casablanca and The Godfather.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, hang on, because I know from our Letterboxd page, I was like, I know those two are like 2 of your favorite movies. So I was like, Steve will definitely put those 2 in the list. Yeah. And so that means we're definitely going to talk about them anyway. So I thought, well, I'm going to keep Casablanca in because that's fine, and I don't want my list to be like my top 5 that Steve didn't pick, anything like that. So I stuck with Casablanca, and I thought, why not do Godfather Part 2? Because I do I was almost going to cheat anyway and say, well, let's do both of them because they are both as good as each other. But so I was like, well, why don't I just pick Part 2? And then that gives us the opportunity to talk about both of them. And then I had Casablanca, Godfather Part 2. In between them, I had The Bridge on the River Kwai. Because that's my kind of Sunday afternoon movie, good old fashioned big war epic that's about, British colonialism and all these other sort of things at the same time. I was like, that's cool. And then for the other 2, and then there's lots of humming and hawing, but then the other 2 I went for were Amadeus.
Oh, yes. That was in my short list.
Yeah. And then the most recent one I went for was Silence of the Lambs.
Interesting. I think the most recent one that I was mulling in my mind, I wasn't gonna put it in the top 5, but I truly enjoyed it, and it's the one closest to today that I would consider, and that was Gladiator.
Okay, yeah, that would be in my, certainly in a top 15 or something. Yeah,
exactly. It's in my top 15 for sure. Possibly top 10. Not so much top 5, but I realized from about 2000, I think it went in 2000 to today, that's the only one in the last 21 years I would even consider putting in my top 5.
I think the same. I mean, that's why when we were like, oh, let's do it from 2001 onwards, I was like, I mean, this is going to be like No Country for Old Men and The Departed and Birdman, and I'm like, which are films I like, but I don't love them.
I enjoyed it. I like Birdman. It was, there was some technical achievements in that, just film wise, that was really good. But it's not like I'm going to sit down and watch Birdman again. I probably will one more time in my lifetime.
I mean, I really liked. I think it was my favorite film of the year actually at the time. Maybe, but I think it was. I think it was more that I was so infatuated with all those technical achievements, and I thought Michael Keaton was amazing in it, and
seeing kind of the throwback to Batman. I mean, because I always liked the Michael Keaton Batman, and I think he's going to be portraying him again in an upcoming TV series. Well,
I think it's in The Flash, the movie of The Flash, because there's a multiverse thing in that, or it's something like that, which is coming later this year. I think he's shot it. He's done it.
I gotta admit, Michael Keaton is one of my favorite Batmans. He was good. And remember when you're probably pretty young, but when he was cast, there was a huge community of Batman fans that were up in arms about that, because he was not the stereotypical buff guy that would take his shirt off and just be ripped. He was a comedian, wasn't he?
Well,
yeah, he was kind of a comic actor. And what I found when I first saw Batman, the Tim Burton, the original one, was I liked him much more when he was playing Bruce Wayne than when he was playing Batman. I just thought he was fantastic as Bruce Wayne. So
interesting. I was a little bit young to get I was 12, I think, when it came out. So I was a little bit young to get all of that, all the controversy around his casting. But I definitely remember, it's the last film I ever remember properly queuing round the block to, hoping there'll still be tickets by the time I get to the front.
Yeah.
That was the last movie I remember doing that for.
This has been so good. I'm going to capture this as a prequel to our
a preamble to our
preamble.
Thing.
Yeah, listen to this, and I think this kind of work.
So what were the other things in your list? Because the only other, and my honorable mention was Annie Hall.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's like Marty. It's not a huge production. It's much more. It's not here. It's here. What's the word?
Yeah, it's a smaller, more contained, kind of modest production.
Contained was what I was looking for. And Ben-Hur is.
Oh wow! We'll go from extremes to the other end. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ben-Hur is still such an amazing movie. I told you I saw it once with Charlton Heston, didn't I?
What?
Yes.
With Charlton Heston.
With Charlton Heston. He around 1988 or so, he was taking it around America because somebody had told him, he had asked, and he does a little talk before the screening of the film, and he was taking I should preface, he was taking it around to show the film in the types of theaters he felt Ben-Hur needed to be viewed in.
Okay. This would have probably been like the 30th anniversary or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. And he, in his little pre-speech before the screening, he said somebody had asked him, or he'd asked somebody if they'd ever seen Ben-Hur, and they said, of course. He said, well, where did you see it? He said, on a VHS tape. And he's like, no, you cannot watch Ben-Hur on a TV on VHS. And so he went on this tour. Anyhow, we buy tickets. It's at the Fox Theater downtown, one of the restored, ornate, old theaters.
Where is this?
In Detroit, Michigan, in downtown Detroit. And so we're down there. It's my mom and a couple of my mom's friends and a few of us kids. And we didn't realize Charlton Heston, but the 2 rows in front of us were cordoned off. We assumed he would be sitting in the front, but of course not in a cinema. He came and he sat right in front of me. And the whole film, I'm watching Ben-Hur with Charlton Heston sitting right where the camera is in front of me.
Like in your field of vision.
I'm seeing him on the screen, and then he's right here. And then at the intermission, he got up, and his mother was still alive. His mother at this time, this is 30 some years ago, was like in her 90s. He shakes all of our hands, thanks us all for coming out, introduces us to his mother. And I'm watching my mom and all of them just shaking Charlton Heston's hand. And on the way home, they're all going, he's such a man.
Oh, fantastic. That's something.
Whenever we play those games, 2 Truths and a Lie, I always like to use, I watched Ben-Hur with Charlton Heston. If everybody's, yeah, right. No way.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I did.
Good stuff. So you had Ben-Hur, and what was the other one? Casablanca, The Godfather, Ben-Hur.
I hadn't finalized it, to be honest.
Okay.
I didn't have it finalized before we decided we're not going to actually finalize it. That's when I wrote you saying this is really tough. Like I said, I had Mrs. Miniver in there. I had Rebecca in there, both films that I love. I was mulling Gone with the Wind. What was that? I feel like I'm losing something in the 70s and 80s that I'm forgetting. If I had the list in front of me, it's oh,
you mean you don't know it?
Yeah.
I know it from the 70s.
The funny thing is, I'm remembering all the ones that I wouldn't pick, like The Deer Hunter. I'm thinking of The Deer Hunter and Kramer versus Kramer. Amadeus was. Oh well, then it was in my consideration for top 5. Yeah, I absolutely adore that film.
It's like a perfect movie.
Chariots of Fire is another one that is. Okay. It wouldn't make my top 5, but it's one of those that I process. I think,
I mean, my problem is the 70s. You could pick any of them. I mean, you've got like A French Connection, Godfather, The Sting.
Patton and The Sting. Patton and the Sting were two. Yes, thank you.
Because the other one up there for me was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which I think is just fabulous.
I see. I've never liked One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest because he gets the
lobotomized.
He gets the lobotomized. He gets the chop at the end, and that so offends me. Like there's something about it.
That's the point. The man wins. You know.
It's just maybe that was it. It was just I can't relive that one again because it's too horrific.
Wow. Yeah. It's
anyhow.
Oh yeah. No, I think it has to end like that.
Yeah. We can say, hey, and everybody, make sure you watch and listen for our upcoming series where we do deep dives into the best picture. Every best picture.
Are you all right with that as a title? Because I just thought that's kind of
sounds good to me.
Every best picture.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I think we do one a week. We do one new film a week and one of those a week.
Yeah.
And if we can, so we do one next week, and if we can get it out on like the Friday or something, so the following Friday, so which is the Friday before the Oscars. I think that's that would be like a perfect time to just like introduce our new sub series or whatever you call it.
Well, let's plan. So next Thursday, Friday, we'll do Wings and maybe another, and then
something new.
Yeah. Good. We should get going though. The family's out. They're staying out on our account.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, I am ready. Yeah, for sure.
Good. Let me.